All right. So we're going to talk about next steps in our cookbook sequential design project. So today we are going to be reviewing our cookbook dissection that we did with our type gauge ruler. We looked at headline, subhead, body, copy, ingredients list. We discovered by sharing in class that our biggest size we've seen so far by everyone who has shared is 10-point body copy, and the smallest is 7-point. So we're noticing scale and how big type is in a printed book. We want to make sure that we have those examples, and we've really looked at all those details within our existing cookbooks that we looked at. We're going to go down here to Project 3, Sequential Design, and we're going to pull up the cookbook brief. Okay. So we are now going to start by looking at researching and collecting our assets and creating a design compass for our cookbook. We're going to get our copy today, and we're going to look at the provided copy as a basis for our step-by-step cookbook. Remember, this cookbook these are 2 recipes you're getting plus a sidebar that you're going to lay out 2 spreads. But the idea is that these are 2 spreads that are going to be indicative of what the entire cookbook would be like. Imagine that there are 100 recipes in this cookbook. So these are just 2, and they are to give you some inspiration and some ideas, but you can take the design strategy for your cookbook in many ways. It can be about quick cooking meals. It can be about healthy cooking, or comfort food, or whatever. We want to start thinking about how we're going to focus our design. So when we're designing our cookbook, it has a rhyme or reason to it. So what is our purpose? So we want to think about a list of 10 adjectives describing what we want our cookbook look and feel to be. Is it, healthy, fresh eating? Is it minimal ingredients? Is it edgy, organic, celebrity, a diet cookbook? Whatever your heart desires, but we want to kind of determine what kind of cookbook we're really going to be designing. We're going to choose 2 adjectives this time to focus our design around after we create our list of 10. They're going to serve as our design compass, helping us to make decisions about type style, color, supporting images, and graphics. These are also known as our assets. I'm going to hand these out, and we're going to go into our small groups and start coming up with our list and reading through our recipes. The first step after we've come up with our design compass is we're going to do type studies and lay out grid sketches. We're going to use a few paragraphs from our copy, and we're going to consider legibility and readability, exploring different paragraph settings with our typeface. We're going to try text with different combinations of text typefaces, point size, leading, line lengths, the column width. These simple type studies will greatly inform our design choices we're going to make to help us create our layout sketches and subsequent grid. I'm going to show you some examples of that as we go along. We're going to keep our 2 adjectives in mind as we start designing and thinking about these type styles we're going to choose. What type style says fresh and clean eating, or what type style says comfort food, so on and so forth. So we want to start really thinking what personality we want our cookbook to have. Legibility is very important. This has to be very easy to read because it's an instruction book. So we don't want to get anything that's overly decorative or difficult to read. So we want to be very aware of how clean and easy it is to read. Leading and the size of the typeface is going to be very important, and that's why we did our dissection, so you recognize how big your type needs to be to fit all the content on the page. As it's necessary, in tandem with our type styles studies, we're going to let our creative concept sketches from our grid structure work on kind of thinking about how do we want to organize our content on the page. And I'm going to walk you through how do we design some grid studies as well. So we're going to today be looking at our recipes, start thinking about what kind of design compass we want to create for our cookbook. Then we're going to I'm going to walk you through how to create type studies to start looking at setting up paragraph styles and hierarchy for all of the content we have. And then we're going to also look at what is a grid sketch and how do we develop grid sketches to think about organizing all the content we have on our page plane. So let me pause here. Just going to show these samples really quick of finished student work. This is one design from one student. And this is a second design from another student, including the consistency of color, typeface, grid between both spreads for each student's design. Each student has 2 recipes plus 1 sidebar that they're adding to their designs.